Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias, Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Maddy Grace Weapon.
That's right, folks. Eli is not here this week. He was welcomed back from his vacation with some interpersonal implosions, so he opted to take a break while he dealt with those. He's still playing Anachronox because he actually likes it, which I think is nuts that one of the few games he likes he's not here for.
Yeah.
But
although apparently the implosions have been fixed, so which is good. It still knocked him out of commission for a bit, but thankfully it seems like it's better now. So all y'all keeping track at home, don't worry too much.
Are we supposed to be talking about this publicly?
We're not going into details, but we have referred to it as implosions several times before, so it's fine.
Okay. This is not even remotely the first time our podcast has mentioned Elias's personal life having problems.
Yes.
So to be fair, our personal lives all have problems. Actually, Sam, yours doesn't. Yours is good.
Not this week. We'll get into that.
I think of the three of us, Eli has the most. I'm in the middle, and you're the least.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, anyway, I'm David Bernard Hauk. I played all through Anachronox, or not all the way through. I played up until this week to catch up and join in on the fun, because I listened to a couple episodes and was like, this game sounds awesome, and it is awesome, but it's also fucking awful. It's both.
Gotta love the duality there. Bernard, being a guest host filling in for Eli, segues nicely into a couple of announcements I have before we get started. This year is going to be the year of guest hosts. We're going to try and get someone besides the main three of us on every episode, and also that main three of us is the main five of us, including Matt and Bernard, so we're going to try and branch out. And so our next game, which I'm excited to announce probably next week or so, I could say it now, it's set in stone, but we like to open it up closer to the end of the game. But Maddie's going to be taking her vacation. We're going to have a guest host then. Yep. And then we have two more guest hosts lined up. So if you're like, oh shit, yeah, I want to be a guest host, we have plenty of spaces open still. So hit us up at rpgbookclub@gmail.com. Let us know if you want to sit in. Sitting in for a game is like an 8-week commitment, and that's kind of a lot for a lot of people. So if you don't want to sit in on a game, we have movie nights, we have bonus episodes, we have lots of places if you want to hop up. Or if like you love, for example, Anachronox, you love it, you could hop in on just the final episode of the season or whatever to just talk about the game as a whole. Those sorts of things.
Also, fun fact: this will be my first vacation from the pod, which is something I am very glad that I am doing.
Yeah,
that is wild.
Yeah,
you've gone this long.
Well, technically, was the first half Persona 3 your first?
I was just
vacation?
thinking about that. Yeah, no, you can't have a pre-vacation before you start doing something.
So is it all of the episodes between Space Funeral and when you joined on Persona? Was that your first vacation?
But yeah, I will say I mentioned privately that Anachronox in retrospect would have been the ideal vacation time, and boy was I right. But I'm managing to hang in there.
Yeah. Speaking of that segue, all of us are real tired this week, and we all have various reasons. So, Maddy, why are you real tired this week?
Okay, so to quote the famous man that I'm currently reading an 800-page book about, there's weeks when decades happen. I'm not going to say who it is. You can look it up. But I mean, we didn't do How Was Your Week the last 3 weeks because we were doing Last of Us and then we were skipping, right? Mm-hmm. I just cannot express the degree to which I am kind of a different person than I was a month ago. Not really a new person, but things just developed. So first of all, the 3-year anniversary of my big life-ending, divorce happened, which wasn't really a cause for upset feelings at all. It was a cause for a little bit of reminiscence and wistfulness, but I've grown a lot in the last 3 years, so it wasn't like I was sad. Actually, the few days leading up to it, I was like, oh, that day's coming. Oh, that day's coming. And then the day it happened, I didn't think about it until like 6 p.m. And then I remembered, oh, right. And then something reminded me of it. But leading up to that, first of all, I had the week-long National Convention of the Democratic Socialists of America. It was incredible, but it was also 8 days of Zoom calls and having very, very strong emotions of all kinds, anger, sadness, elation, and comradeliness. One of the best days of my entire life was there, the day 7 out of 8. That was stuck in the middle there. Lots of good feelings of love and all that shit. So that was nice. I'm not going to recap any of it because holy shit, was it a lot. And then the next week, I finally finished the 3.5-month long journey I've been on, that thing that I keep telling you I can't tell you about. I can tell you about it now. I actually did mention this like back in May. I probably shouldn't have, but also I mentioned it like vaguely enough that it doesn't matter anyway, and which is why I didn't like tell Sam to go back and delete it or anything, because who gives a shit. But anyway, my new job that I keep whining about / talking about is as a package handler at UPS, United United Parcel Service. And I've been working there for almost 4 entire months now. And after my 70-day workday probation period, which is why I wasn't talking about it, I'm finally a Teamster. I'm a member of the United Brotherhood of Teamsters. And it's very exciting. It's very exciting work. The reason I'm doing it is not because I wanted a job, but it's actually part of my greater like political organizing type work, which I won't go into too much for privacy reasons, but I can at least say that. It's no big deal. If you are curious about it, you can anyone listening to this can feel free to reach out to me. I will gladly talk about it in private. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing besides just wanting a job. And I've been waiting to be able to holler about it. It's very awesome. Also, in case you're curious about just wanting it, if you do just want a new job or something, working at UPS part-time, it pays pretty good. It's a good, strong union, the Teamsters, but also they have the greatest health insurance in the history of the fucking world. If there's any transes out there, which I know there are listening to this, I don't know, if you want any kind of like expensive, high-dollar elective surgery, go to work at your local UPS for literally 30 work days. It was 70 for me, but that's weird. Most locals are 30. And then you'll have healthcare where I can, how most healthcare plans are super, super long and have all these complicated stipulations. This one is too for legal reasons, but I could sum it up in this way. Everything's free.
Hell yeah.
Just everything. Every single thing you can think of, even things that normally aren't free under the best possible healthcare, is like purely elective surgeries, and all medications. I keep checking every time I want to make sure. So like I'm going to get some voice. I'm considering maybe doing like voice work stuff for like being like trans and having like girl voice and shit. I'm not sure how I feel about it. We'll see how I feel about it, but it's free. Looking into getting some new glasses stuff. It's free. Physical therapy. It's free. There was one other thing I was looking into. I forget what it is, but I keep calling to billing to make sure, and they're like, "Yeah, it's free." They're like, "Damn, nope, not most people don't have insurance like this. What is this?" And I'm like, "That's a Teamsters, baby." So shout out to the Teamsters. Shout out to Teamsters for a Democratic Union. The Teamsters Reform Movement started in the 70s, which led, and shout outs to Teamsters Reform candidate Ron Kerry, who won the presidency in 1995, which led to the greatest private sector strike in the last half century of American history, which is why part-timers have incredible healthcare right now. So shout outs to Ron Kerry. Shout outs to Ken Paff, the founder of TDU. Anyway, I know
They've
lot
contributed
about
so much to the speedrunning scene for this game.
Wait, I don't get it. Oh, I get it.
You sounded like the end. You sounded like the end of a GDQ run.
I get it. Anyway, the point is, I know a lot about the Teamsters now. I have read multiple books about it, and it's about UPS, and I have multiple books left to read. So I'm a big old dork about this shit, and I'm very excited. So that's the second thing that happened in my life. The third thing that happened, and the rest, and there's a bunch of other shit, and I'm very tired and very stressed all the time, and it's sometime between now and, I don't know, a couple months from now, I'm going to stop being a person who throws packages into the back of a truck. Excuse me. Gently places packages into the back of a truck according to proper work methods. Excuse me. And will become someone who drives, who delivers your lovely packages to you every day. That's what I'm working towards, and I'll get there one day. So very, very exciting. Working 2 jobs really sucks, and I'm hoping for it to be 1 job in the near future. What else is there? Whatever, I'll leave the rest of it out. That's the big thing. Like I said, I've been raring to talk about the exciting life news for literally 3 weeks now, and now I finally get to. Love y'all.
Hell yeah. So I am exhausted and had a real bad week because kids are hard, and so there's that famous quote that has been making the rounds since 2016. That's like, I don't know how to teach you how to care about other people.
Yep.
Where like you reach an impasse when you're arguing with someone and you're like, healthcare should be free, and they say no, and you're like, okay, what do I do with this information? Because you should care about other people. You have to teach kids how to care about other people. Like, you can't do it, and then you have to. And right now, Scarlett is having the hardest time empathizing with anybody at all. It's just like it's just like a week worth of just breaking down. And so like me and Summer, like, most nights this week have just like, in the morning we've been like, hey, do you want to do ABC XYZ tonight and hang out? Because as I mentioned before, like, I think it was on Book Club no Kiseki where I mentioned it actually, but I finished the huge long wedding video project I was on, so I have free time now. And so me and Summer have been in the morning planning our free time, being like, hey, let's do this together. And then Scarlett happens for 8 hours, and then we put her to bed, and we're like, do you want to scroll TikTok while we watch Modern Family and just be in the same room as each other, because that's all we have the effort for. And it's been rough, but she's also like becoming really smart and like caring about things, and will just like come into my room and tell me shit about the new game that she loves. And it's like it's hard to stress how like toxic and drug-like parenthood is, where I'm like, it sucks, it's horrible, but like kids are the fucking best, and I recommend it. If you like kids, you should have some, and just be prepared that it's pretty hard until they get to their annoying age, and then they're annoying but they're cool, so you just have to like put up with hearing about Roblox for 6 hours a day, and then And then if you successfully show up for them while they're annoying, you'll have a best friend for life. So yeah, stick it out for the first like 10 years, and then you're good.
I am so simultaneously looking forward, like endlessly looking forward to having a kid one day, and also so glad I do not currently have one. I'm so looking forward to thinking really hard about when is the proper time that I think I am ready to have a kid.
Yeah. But
I can barely take care of my cat.
the other important thing that has happened to me is as of the 1st of September, I will be a full-time employee for Forward Service Corporation instead of just a temp.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
that includes a $3 an hour raise, which is a
Yeah.
That's a
$126.
lot of dollars.
It's a $126 per pay period or per week increase, which is a entire grocery bill now just like being free. It's not, I still have to pay for it. It's just now like I do the same amount of work and now my grocery bill is taken care of and I change nothing, and it's like awesome. And so between the monthly COVID bucks and my raise, it's like my car payment and my groceries for the month are just not a thing, and I can just ignore them.
You're still getting the COVID bucks despite the raise?
Yes, because it was based on my taxes for last year. I don't know if I will continue to get the COVID bucks post raise come February or whatever, but
right. No, that's awesome.
Still getting them now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because there's like a chance that would stop happening, but I'm glad that it doesn't.
Yeah. So things are looking up, and so hopefully, knock on wood, fingers crossed, all of that shit. I start repairing my credit score to buy a house sometime next year, and be a hella grown up.
Dude, I've been thinking about that too. I've been part of the thing about my job is that sorry, one more pitch for the Teamsters. The drivers after 4 years, you make $45 an hour.
Wow.
And also you work like 10 to 12 hours a day, which for the record isn't great. And if things go good with the upcoming contract negotiations, hopefully that'll stop happening. But it's like, on one hand, you never get to see your fucking family or kids, or your wife and kids, but also you do get an insane amount of money every month. Yeah. Although I know most of the drivers would probably prefer to work 8 hours a day and get a little bit less money because you're still getting paid like $45 an hour. Yeah. And that's after 4 years because, there's like a progression schedule. But anyway, one more thing. A lot of my friends have been super, super supportive of me the last 3.5 months, which is good because before I did all this, I had to tell them, hey, I'm not going to see y'all as much for the next while because of the two jobs and the fact that one of them is 11 p.m. and like all that stuff. And they were so supportive. And I'm sending a message to the chat. Look at what they got together to purchase for me. I can't send, of course, those of you listening to this podcast don't get to see it, but I will describe it. One of my friends unilaterally bought me a shirt that has the logo of the Teamsters on the front in pink. And then on the back, it says, and this is extremely cheesy, by the way, it's very cringe and cheesy, but it says Team, quote, Sisters, which is just very dorky. But then a bunch of my friends got together and got me a sick jean jacket with the logo embroidered enormously on the back of it.
That's dope.
So I'm like 100% union pilled now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Are you really?
If you want to be union pilled as well, you should apply to work at UPS and become a Teamster.
But yeah, I'm sure there was other stuff that happened because it's been a whole dang month. But those are the big ones. That parenting is hard, wedding videos are over, and I now have a big boy job. Oh, and also I follow this TikToker called Problematic Nonprofits, and they talk about how most nonprofits suck because it's like the CEOs make shitloads of money, and that kind of feels like it's a profit thing at that point. But all the things that she said are red flags for nonprofits, specifically those that are targeted towards helping people out of poverty. My job didn't have any of the red flags, so I got one of the good ones too. So I feel really good about staying in this job. And
nice.
Yeah, and to be fair, like don't get me wrong, NGOs are terrible, but I have a number of friends who are who work for NGOs, and a number who are recovering NGOers, like they used to be in the industry and they got out of it. Yeah, a lot of them are super exploitative, but also they're fundamentally bad because like it's basically private-public partnership. It's like most NGOs are doing things that the state should be doing, but instead the state has a very complex and bad system of grants where companies are competing for this government money, but they have to compete in ways that hurt the entire project because it's all about like metrics, and you spend so much time like getting data to prove that what you're doing is good and then massaging the numbers so that it looks like you're doing a great job, and then making really good performance presentations, knowing how to say the right words. That way the government gives your NGO the money instead of some other one. And it really just goes against everything about how the way that things should be working. But like, that's not Sam's fault. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's not Sam's fault. Like a lot of the time it's like, okay, well, we did have a private-public partnership, or we'd rather have just like literally nothing. So, you know, no shade on NGO workers out there. It's if you've got the kind of skills that they'll hire you and you think that they're doing good work, it's a good way to feel like you're doing some good work in the world, even if it's deeply, deeply compromised.
Yeah, it's this is kind of a segue, but that's my whole MO. So a thing I've had, an ADHD thing that I've been trying to work on getting a handle on is I have a problem with like talking myself out of things because I can't do it 100% of the way. So like, full disclosure, like I have a hard time remembering to shower because I sweat during my sleep. And so at night when I'm in full control of all of my faculties, I'm like, if I shower now, I'm going to sweat in my sleep and then I'll just be stinky again in the morning. But then in the morning I sleep late and then I'm bumping up against work and then I don't have time. And so then showering never happens. So it's like, do I want to have 10% funk because I woke up after sweating in my sleep, or do I want to have 100% funk because I never shower? And so I like, my job is kind of like that, where it's like, my job shouldn't exist, but it's all we got. So
but it does,
I got to do something.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. But super excited for it. But what about you, Bernard? How have you been? Are you real tired?
My month has been weird. I quit my job that I hated in order to pursue my studies, get qualified to teach English to people who don't speak it, and support the imperialism of America and Great Britain that way, as you love to do. And I quit my job. I was doing real great, doing my studies and being productive. And then I got really sick for over a week. And we recorded some episodes of other podcasts under this umbrella. And you can hear how sick I was. And I didn't get much done then. And now I've lost all my momentum. And I'm just being real unmotivated. So
I agree. The momentum model is deeply flawed. Check out Jacobin.com's latest article on the Sunrise Movement to learn more.
Oh my God.
A really good article.
Maddy's a shill now.
I've always been a shill, but now I'm significantly more of one. That's the other thing. Look, my favorite socialist magazine, Jacobin Magazine, it's always good. I read every issue. I've been reading every issue for 4 years now. They put out the literal best issue they've ever made like 2 weeks ago. So now friends that I normally would not mention it to, I'm just like, you need to read this. It'll change your fucking life. like not my fault. It's like super good. And it keeps being relevant. People always talking about climate change. And I'm like, hey, yo, you know what's the best article I've read on the climate change in the last month?
I love how you just accidentally referred to it as the climate change. Which
I think I was going to say
profoundly hilarious.
I think I was going to say the something else, and then I switched it in my brain, but you know.
The climate change is a real problem.
Yeah, I got on the Google and I was looking up about the climate change.
Climate change. I mean, really, it is the climate change. There isn't another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else, Bernard?
No, I don't really have a reason to be tired and groggy other than I I
Just
have an
Anne.
unhealthy lifestyle, and I'm trying to work on that. As we all are, aren't we?
Yeah.
I have a new note-taking system. It involves 3 notebooks and 8 colored pens.
Hell yeah.
It's not as complicated as it sounds. It's actually really nice and simple and fun. Although I like that I can subtly imply intent when I take a task list based on what color I call it, because like there might be something where it's like 50% one color, 50% another color, depending on what kind of thing it is. And by picking a color, I'm kind of subtly shading like how I feel about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did just remember something else that I did. It's not important. I shouldn't even talk about it, but here I am. It's my podcast. You have to listen. I have been, so Summer's been watching Naruto just straight. I ain't got time for that. So I've been watching the Naruto fan edit, not the good one, Naruto Kai, because that one's Japanese only, but the not as good one, Naruto cut to manga. And the thing that sucks about it the most is they cut out the intros and outros as well. And like, yes, I get cutting it down to make it flow better and cutting out all the garbage, but like, why watch an anime if you're not going to watch the intro and outros? So I
That's right.
spent the week using my my film degree for the better and splicing back in all of the intros and outros to all of my Naruto cut to manga volumes. So that's what I'm up to now that I don't have now that I have free time. I wasted on anime.
That makes me feel better about spending a bunch of my free time this week playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
I stayed up too late last night because looking at California labor law because I think that my job is lying to me.
Fun times. Speaking of fun times, let's listen to some Anachronox music and discuss the plot that happened this week.
Did y'all notice the Anachronox music in the area, like before you get to the red light district? It suddenly turns into some like weird, like JRPG Mystic Forest shit.
Yes, and like in another game, it wouldn't be weird music, but in this game, it was very strange.
I watched a Let's Play this week because I was working during my Anachronox time. And normally I would be able to just play in my downtime at work, but I had a lot of really frustratingly busy worky things I had to do this week, so I did not get to do it, unfortunately. But I did find cheat codes to increase the game speed, which is the thing that takes the longest, is getting into a fight. The animations are just real long. So I can just up the speed and I'll catch up no problem for next week.
There is a speed up button on the keyboard.
There is?
Yeah, it's annoyingly placed. It's backslash. It's not like shift, so you can't move the camera, move your character, and speed up at the same time.
I'll just...
While Grumpos is spinning through the air, you can definitely press button.
Yeah, I'll look into a combination of those.
If you do both at the same time, it's like when you play FF12, the Zodiac Age, with the 8 times speed up, and you're like, it's too much.
Love that game on the 8 times speed up until you realize
I like
that
it
you're
with the 4 times speed up, personally.
but the 8 times speed up is great because you'll set your gambits and you'll watch them go, and then you'll realize that your gambits are off, but it happens too fast for you to fix it. So you just like, no.
You very quickly see, you're like, everything is going great, and then all of a sudden you see your like life meters of your characters go. And you're like, oh no, too late. Okay,
too late. Okay. So my notes are small and also only for the first part. So if I skip something cool, tell me. I probably did. The first thing we do after last time, because last time, being a month ago, we might not remember, was we were on Democratus when we had agreed to go and blow up the hive because they were getting attacked by hive missiles, and so we're like, we'll go save them for you. I don't remember why we were doing that.
Because Ro said so. Ro wanted to.
Why are we destroying them? Oh yeah, just because we're Ro understands that we're JRPG heroes. No one else does, but yeah, she's like, we gotta help them. There's no particular reason. We should.
I'm not gonna watch another planet get destroyed. And Boots was like, I was gonna.
Okay. Everyone else is like, I was chill with it, but since you have a personal motivate, since you have like a very direct personal experience in not wanting massive amounts of people to die, I guess I'll go along with it.
Yeah. And why were we on Democritus, and what were we trying to?
We were on Democritus because we got stranded in space, and then they accidentally saved our lives.
Okay.
Exactly.
And now we're trying to get off Democritus because we don't like it there.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. So
we did need to catch up. When we left Democritus, or when we left the previous place to go to Democritus, did we have a specific place we were trying to go at that point?
No. So we were with. We were going to find Grumpos's friend, which was Ro, on the science planet, and then that kind of blew up on us.
We simply escaped. Okay, cool. So
yeah,
we do not have.
We went there to talk to Ro, and then things started blowing up while we were talking to her. So then we left.
Yeah, gotcha. So the overall plot has at this point not advanced beyond. We talked to the person we were supposed to talk to, and now a bunch of things have been happening.
Yes. The plot, in fact, begins to start at the final bit of what we play today. So, so the first thing we do is we hop on our little fighter pilot and we play the shitty balloon game from Banjo-Tooie, except it's somehow harder.
I hate it. For me at least, the mouse control is really delicate and finicky, and I'm bad at it. Luckily, it lets you skip it if you die.
Yeah. I was giving it my best shot, and I made it to the boss, and then I died on the boss when it had like 20% health, and I'm like, that counts. I beat it. I'm just skipping it. I'm not going to sit here through another 10 minutes of fucking on-rail shooter to try again.
I got through it, but yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the worst minigame of the game, because
it's weird that it lets you skip this minigame and one previous minigame, the one where you're on the boat in the sewer dungeon, but not others.
Yeah, I think the escape from Explodey Town did not let you skip.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because it wasn't too terribly hard. It was easier than the one this week.
Yeah, I believe that the skips were added as like quality of life improvements after it made it to Steam, so like 10 years later type thing. But
maybe they couldn't add them for others because of just like how hard it is to modify a game a decade later.
Yeah. But So after you do the hive minigame, you infiltrate the hive itself on foot. This dungeon is really cool and really long and does not broadcast what you need to do very well. So I used a guide because I was lost. I did not realize you could click on the crystals. So I was just walking in circles trying, because like part of it is a maze, but it's not a real maze. Everything leads like to the same spot. But I thought maybe it was a real maze and I was missing where to go. So I was like purposefully getting lost inside of the not maze a lot, trying to find the thing to click on. And
this level feels a whole lot like Doom. Like a weird Doom level.
Yeah.
I think, Bernard, were you the first person to make the insightful observation that this level design was like level design of a first-person shooter?
I think I said it our first episode.
Oh, okay. It was you that said it. Yeah. Continues to be ever more true statement.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool NPCs to talk to, but basically you just go in, collect some crystals, bust some heads, and then kill the big old queen.
And you can't use your beat attacks in this fight, neither against the queen nor against the minions she summons. I don't know why.
So Fatima says at some point that there's some sciencey thingy jigger, and they're only susceptible to mistech. But fun fact, that did remind me. So we lamented back in episode 2, I think, that the it looks like it should have keyboard controls, but it doesn't. It actually does, but you have to use spacebar to confirm your keyboard control. So instead of just hitting 1 to do the first thing, you hit 1 and then spacebar. So if you use the keyboard controls to do 1 and then spacebar, they didn't they made it not clickable. They didn't turn the menu button off. So if you do 1 spacebar, you still can use beat attacks. So
what?
Yeah, it's hilarious. Games are hard, but
how does any video game get made?
No idea.
That's so fucking
Programs are just so ridiculously hard to make. How does any video game work at all?
I couldn't tell you. So after you kill the queen, that disables all of the hive, but there isn't any gravity or friction in space. So all of the missiles that were pointed at Democritus are still flying at full speed at Democritus because there's nothing to slow him down. So everyone just crosses their fingers and hopes that they don't die, and they don't. They don't die. Huzzah! So the
missiles just bounce off the station, start burning up in the atmosphere, and it will probably be fine.
Probably.
I don't see that going poorly for the surface dwellers.
No, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
So the council throws us a cocktail party, and then they start to have a bunch of votes on if they should instead throw us a parade. Our teammates are like, yeah, this place fucking sucks. Let's get out of here. So
I continue to be annoyed by their complete lack of any sensible parliamentary procedure. Look, y'all, I get it. People argue for ages about things, but they do generally argue with some kind of actual structure that allows them to make decisions. The problem isn't that they like arguing. The problem is that they're bad at it.
Yes. So our party slips out and heads back to Center Station to get sloshed. Boots is like, I'm not a JRPG hero. I was Grumpos's bodyguard to get him to meet you. Here you are. Go play with the happy. I'm going to get drunk. And they're like, no, you're a JRPG hero. You have to be. We need to go and do the things. Grumpos wants us to help him make a modular elemental mistech thingy, but that's our quest for next week, so it doesn't matter. And Ro wants us to help her get some pieces of equipment so that she can figure out what happened with the whole world-splitting mistech thing from back on the science planet. Boots gets ready to tell them to leave him the fuck alone, but then someone floats into the bar. It is Democritus. That's right.
This is the stupidest fucking thing that has ever happened in any video game.
The entire planet joins your party. It's great. So
it sure does.
This game really has a problem of not knowing what tone it wants to strike, and I feel like it averages out to a pretty good tone, but this is one of the outlier data points.
Yeah. It's hilarious. It's like you can tell that this game was made by people whose RPG bona fides are playing D&D with their friends, because this is something that, like, Ricky, you know how every friend group has a Ricky. Ricky will show up and be like, yeah, well, I've been a werewolf the whole time and I have laser eyes, so that's what I'm rolling for initiative and that sort of shit. And that's what Democritus is. He's the Ricky of the group that just role played being a fucking planet.
Maybe someone's character died in the Democritus arc and they needed to roll a new character, and everybody really enjoyed Democritus. So they were like, well, I'll just be Democritus then.
Yeah.
So yeah, they explain that they have the technology. They've always had the technology to shrink their planet down really small, and thought this would be a good use.
Yeah. So Democritus joins the party, and Pal is like, so how good was it murdering my friends? And the conversation can go north or south. If it goes south, you just talk to him again and eventually reconcile, and he joins the party again. Because love him, hate his voice actor. Love him so much. But so we get our party back together and a new person, and we talk to Ro to see the particulars of her quest. So she explains that she needs a tachyon decay detector, which is a big old sciencey thing that'll help her analyze what happened to the science planet. And she also needs a field transduction module, which has been banned on Cinder Station, so we have to get it from the black market. And Boots is like, oh, I have a friend in that deals with the black market. He's probably over in the red light district, so we can go over there and talk to him to find the whole thing. So that's what we do. So let's see. So to get to the red light district, you go back through the sewer area that we went through a couple weeks ago, and this time you keep on going. And because you can upgrade, so at this point when it opens up, the game opens up completely. You can go back to Anachronox right now if you want to. Mm-hmm. You can do Rose quest, you can do Grumpos's quest, you can do a lot of stuff. And talking around on Cinder Station to the scientist who we helped find love last week, if you talk to him, he upgrades Rose analyze ability, which lets her open the door that was jammed in the sewers, so we can continue exploring the sewers. And
I didn't know you could. I did talk to that guy, but I guess I didn't talk to him as Ro, because he didn't upgrade anything for me.
When you talk to him, you didn't get attained master level and get analyze version 2?
I definitely didn't know this, so yeah. I was again doing like the blasting through using guide, only doing everything explicitly required to finish up for the week. But boy, now that everything's open, I'm really looking forward to going back. Maybe I might have to wait until after we actually finish the game and on my break. But I'm glad you can go back to places, because I actually wasn't sure if you were going to be able to.
Yeah, the only missables are on the planet we just exploded. So everything else you can go back to. But weird. I figured you, though. I guess last time we were here we didn't have Rose, so you don't have to have the master analyze, because we just didn't have it at all last time. I just figured you had to. Anyways, So we make our way through the Rue tubes and get to the red light district, where everybody seems to know Boots, which I think is great. He's a scoundrel, so of course he hangs out with all the whores. And this part is pretty open. You can go and talk to a whole lot of great NPCs. There, like, everything is rife for a memorable moment there. But you basically learn that Kavestra, I believe is his name. You get some inklings that he's at a couple different places, and you end up talking to his that she caught him without his wedding ring or something, and you have to go and get it back for him. Mm-hmm. And
this is different from how it played out for me.
Oh, how did it play out for you?
I just found Kavestra, and he was like, "Hey, I lost my wedding ring. Can you go find it?" I was in this room here at the Orange Navel. I heard a lot about his wife, but I never talked to her.
For me, it was for Sam.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, it's the game is quite open here, and this is an NPC dungeon, but it's instead of an NPC dungeon, it's an NPC open world right here. So you do eventually find Kavester and get his wedding ring back for him, and get his what's the fucking the thing?
He tells you where you can pick it up.
Yeah, he tells you where you can pick it up. That's what it is. And so you head over to the something sweaty sex machine.
Cold Sweat Sex Machine.
That's it. Cold Sweat Sex Machine, which is a strip club. And you go there, and much like Cosmic Star Heroine, a future party member has a musical number, and it's awesome.
It rules.
So
half the time they spent animating things in this game, they spent on this cutscene.
Yeah,
and it's worth it. So the character is Stiletto anyway, and
incredible name for the record.
Yeah, I take Boots' side on this, that it's a stupid name, but I'm aware that I'm probably wrong because everyone else loves it. But she has this whole like stripper dance routine, and it is real good. And Boots recognizes her, that it's Sarah, his old partner, and like he even has a Polaroid of like him and Sarah and Fatima and Pal. And on her, like, as she finishes her dance routine, she like kills some dudes and goes to run off, and as she's running off, she stops and is like, "Hey, what's up, Boots?" And then fucking keeps on going. Help me out here. What happens next? Because I know the next part is Pal goes and has his solo dungeon, but I don't remember what happens.
So Boots was like, "Oh, that was weird," but Stiletto runs off, and he doesn't follow her. So he goes back to the Lounge of Commerce, and he and Grumpos and Roe are all like, "Okay, so we've got MacGuffin 1, but how are we going to get MacGuffin 2? It's in the museum, which has been closed for maintenance, but there's heavy security. How are we going to get around the security?" And Pal just goes off on his own to go do it. He doesn't say anything. He just leaves.
Okay. So yeah, you go as Pal, and you infiltrate a lot of things. You can go and get a weapon upgrade for him if you go all the way to the red light district and free the little sentient stripper android, which I think is cool. But eventually you do go into the museum, and you sneak around through air vents and stuff like that.
This part of the game is terrible. It is bullshit.
Awesome. I didn't actually play it yet, so I'm looking forward to having a shitty day on Saturday as I catch back up. You do eventually make it into the you make it above the room where they have the tachyon decay detector, and so Pal goes to like look down and get it, but he falls on his fucking face and almost lands on the laser grid on the floor. And he's like, oh, well, shit, like I almost set off the alarms. But then he gets back up and the tachyon decay detector is gone. So he's like, well, what the fuck? So then you have to find your way back out. And as you do, you run into Stiletto anyway, and she's
like, hey, pal. And Pal's like, oh my gosh, it's you. Boots is going to be so happy to see you. And she has the tachyon decay detector.
Okay.
And so they start heading back to the Lounge of Commerce, and she shows her world skill, which is throwing a loony at things.
Awesome.
That's her world skill.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
It has a terrible minigame attached to it because it's a world skill.
What is the minigame for it?
It's actually not terrible. It's just not good. A circle goes back and forth, and you have to press spacebar at the right time, and then another circle, and then another, and another.
Okay. Sounds better than Democritus's whack-a-mole democracy minigame.
And better than the Comp Talk minigame that you have to do 1,000,000 times this week, which is so easy, but it's hard to actually do because the hitboxes are so small. And the mouse control is so finicky. And I did look at the settings. It did not help.
Yeah. Don't know what's going on there. It's probably some unknown incompatibility because we're 20 years on from when this game came out and everything is weird and different.
Mm-hmm.
But so after that, you head back to the lounge, and Ro tells us what the game is about.
So Ro is like, you know how there was the Big Bang? And everyone's like, yeah.
Heard of it?
She's like, and you know how eventually the universe will collapse back in on itself and there will be another Big Bang and then another universe and this will repeat infinitely? And everyone's like, yeah. This is kindergarten stuff. And she's like, okay, well, when that planet split in half, that was a person from the previous universe sending matter into our universe. Since there's more matter in our universe now, our universe is going to collapse on itself quicker, shortening its lifespan. And since there's less matter in the previous universe now, its lifespan is becoming longer. And if they keep doing...
It's really interesting, considering that we just played Tales of Symphonia.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting little connection.
I haven't played Tales of Symphonia, so
yeah,
I wouldn't know.
It's hilarious. Like this well, I was trying to think of like, oh, what would be a good game to play? I was like, or a good movie to watch for this game. I was like, well, we could either watch Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets or Upside Down, because it's basically Septericor and Tales of Symphonia having a baby together.
Or y'all could watch a good movie.
Don't know how to do
Valerian, yeah. Sorry, not Valerian, excuse me. The other movie I was confused. Actually, Valerian would have been a nice fit for this game, actually.
Yeah, like, even better than it was for Septericor.
Yeah, it would have been.
So, if this continues, eventually our universe will have never existed, and the previous universe will have gone on forever, and time is weird, and then Grumpos is like, well, I wanted to go to Hephaestus anyway, and we couldn't actually go to Hephaestus previously. We had to do Rose things first. Sam is a liar.
Oh, really? Because the Let's Play even had a vote on which one you do first.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe you can. and things just play out extremely differently. But anyway, Grumpus is like, look, I wanted to go to Hephaestus anyway. The dude at Hephaestus, the person who has a fancy title, is the wisest person in the galaxy. He'll be able to help us. So we're planning to go to Hephaestus next week.
Yeah. There's also a lengthy scene with, while this is all going on, with Boots and Stiletto talking about their past.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, Stiletto, like, left to go find herself on the same night that Fatima died, and Fatima doesn't trust Stiletto, and Boots is all hung up on her, and it's this whole big, vaguely defined thing that make it more definition, but it's noir tropes. She's the bad girl that got away, that went and joined a life of quote unquote crime, and that sort of stuff. I just rewatched it, and it's still it's vague, but
there's this really weird part of it where Stiletto and Boots are like throwing jabs at each other, verbal jabs, and it just keeps cutting to different parts of a very abstract sculpture behind them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this filmmaking? Which is that something I said a lot as I barreled through 8 hours of this game this week.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Like we said in our first episode, they just discovered 3D graphics and in-game cutscene camera controls, and by damn, they're gonna use it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so next week we will go to Hephaestus, and we'll all go to Church Planet, and it'll be a lot of fun. But this week we will listen to some more Anachronox music and talk about our probably multitudinous memorable moments. All right, Maddy, what do you have for Mem Moms?
I don't really have any. There were a lot that I liked that were like visual, but that doesn't really work to talk about. It's like screenshots and filmmaking stuff. I did have an interesting insight getting through it, where whenever you get to a dungeon, it feels very weird because, as we've discussed, this kind of feels like an adventure game where, for some reason, you have a battle system occasionally. But when you think about it from a different point of view, it makes perfect sense. This game is divided into two kinds of dungeons: talking dungeons and fighting dungeons. And when you think about it that way, you're like, oh yeah. Like whenever it's not an open-ended like going around talking game. I mean, some parts it is, but like whenever you get to certain planets, it's like you have one goal, and the plot advances at the end of the goal, and everything until then is talking to people to get through it. And that's no different than, and then you go to a dungeon, and it's like you have a goal. At the end, you advance your goal. You have to fight things to get through it. So it actually made me feel a lot better about it once I realized that was the structure. And funny enough, it makes that game a predecessor to Mass Effect, I think, in many ways. Mass Effect blends the two more, though frankly, I always thought it'd be interesting if they blended it less. Mass Effect 2 and 3 blend it less, which is nice. But yeah, when those games came out, I thought that they were kind of pioneering. You know, the Mass Effect games seem so natural that you don't think of them as being super, like, you don't think of them as being insanely, like, innovative or groundbreaking. Like, when I think of Mass Effect, I don't think, like, wow, what, like, an experimental, like boundary-pushing game, you know, because it's very user-friendly, it's very mass market appeal, it's very accessible. But it actually is, kind of, right? They turned RPG, and they bent the stick of what counts as an RPG so far that it completely ceased to be one. And it's like, no, this is just an interactive narrative, completely linear story where half the time you're going around talking to people in interactive dialogue scenes that are exciting and dramatic and well directed and well acted, and you're involved the entire time instead of just watching cutscenes. And then the other half of the game, it's a shooting game, right? And it's just a bunch of linear scenes of talking, walking, shooting. And that might seem like it's so simple, and yet in a way it's actually very groundbreaking. And that kind of game didn't really catch on, actually, which is a damn shame. Like, I feel like Mass Effect could have been the model for a bazillion games going forward, but what happened was the Ubisoft open world map game took over, and then the software as a service game took over. So the linear narrative action game of that nature didn't really hit. I mean, you got your Last of Us Part 2s, but that's cutscenes, right?
Yeah.
Not interactive dialogue scenes, which is a damn shame. Anyway, this game is actually kind of that in a way. It's kind of the Mass Effect model.
It's not like dialogue choices, but it is. You can interact with the world by doing things in different orders and different ways. Like we talked about, we did the wedding ring quest in different ways. Yeah,
you're still exploring the non-action parts in a very player-driven way, as opposed to just being like, because that's the difference between this and something like Last of Us. Like Last of Us Parts 1 and 2, especially 2 and probably Left Behind, do have lengthy interactive non-violent portions, but they're very, very linear, and you're mostly just like, the game says go here. You're as Tim Rogers calls them, what does Tim Rogers call them?
Prestige tours, I think.
Prestige tours, exactly, where you're walking in the game showing you things. Whereas the Mass Effect model is different, where the non-action parts are just as much of an interactive game that is driven by the player's choices and decisions as the action parts, but they do that without being like you can go anywhere and do anything Western RPG. It's still a very linear narrative but the player's in the driver's seat for both halves of it. And yeah, this game doesn't have like branching dialogue choices or a morality meter, but in a different way it is, because what order you complete these quests in, how you solve the puzzles is extremely, extremely open-ended. So it's just neat. It's some thought I had, and it's I feel like the way that the game is actually more coherent than I'd given it credit for, I feel like. Well, that aspect of the game is more coherent than I'd given it credit for.
All right. What about you, Bernard?
So, I read the manual for this game before I played it, and I love the manual. It's all written from Fatima's voice. She's just explaining the game to you. It's really sassy. It has a lot of personality. It reminded me of when I was a small baby Bernard, and I was reading the manual for the first Sims game, and it was written like an advice column. It was like, I forget the name of the character, but there was this like character who, it was like she was giving you advice on how to play the game, like it was an advice column. So I just love manuals like that have a lot of personality.
Did I not yell about the manual our first episode? I guess I forgot to.
I think you said you should read the manual, but I don't remember how much you talked about it.
Right, yeah, but yeah, it's super good. You know what else it reminds me of? Sam, do you remember the Halo 2 Special Edition manual?
I was about to say I love good manuals like the Halo 2 Special Edition. That's all in Covenant speak.
Yeah. Halo 2, the normal manual, is written just like the first game. It's written like a military dossier, where it's like, here's all the facts, using kind of pretend like military jargon about all of our weapons and our military operations, and here's our reports about the evil aliens and what we've learned so far about them and whatever. But the special edition is a totally different manual that is the same thing, but from the Covenant, that's the bad guys in Halo, point of view, where instead of having a little bio of who the hero is, they call him the Demon, and they're writing about this guy that they hate and how he sucks, and all the enemy, the part where it talks about each enemy type and like what their gameplay mechanics are, it's these are our forces, and here's all the abilities that they have to kill that bastard that we don't like. It's really good.
Bungie just had a lot of good writers and wanted to give them an opportunity to flex.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And then like, Halo 3, some of the writers were like, I'm doing the fingers pointing together with the emoji face thing right now. They were like, hey, we have a lot of cool stuff we wrote that we don't really know where to put it. Can we just like hide a bunch of computer terminals all over the place and have a whole extra little story you wrote that isn't the main story? And they're like, sure.
Yeah, I love the terminals in Halo 3 because there's all this extra story, and it's also in its entirety a reference to Marathon, which is a very good video game, and it made me really happy as a Marathon fan when Halo 3 came out.
Yeah, you know what? This game, again, no shade on this game, is dope. But this game's mechanics and game design would be a lot better if it also had Bungie writing.
Yes.
The writing in general is just something I sort of wanted to talk about. It's just so much we want to do a hardcore neo-noir sci-fi thing, but also we just really fucking love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yep.
I didn't say we really fucking love Douglas Adams because I don't know if these people read Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. I don't know if I want to give them that much credit.
Love that book.
Yeah,
I think they may have only read Hitchhiker's Guide. And
yeah, because now that I think about it, Dirk Gently manages to be really funny while also having a compelling sort of noir story with a tone that's a little bit more grounded. And it's like the parts where they're doing elaborate sci-fi stuff and even the noir shenanigans, even the part that's like it's still noirish, but it's like, yeah, it's a little bit of a thinned up, a little bit of a pastiche, but like not in a way that's making you laugh, it's a way that makes you smile, like, oh, it's being a little bit exaggerated, right? That's all great. But then they're just like, bam, Hitchhiker's Guide shit. And it's like, there were two groups of people involved in writing this game. Both of them would have been great if they both made their own game.
Yeah, and
I do like a lot of the Hitchhiker's Guide shit that is in just the NPC
right
dialogue. A lot of it is actually good. Like the people doing Hitchhiker's Guide shit were not hacks.
Yeah, they were doing a good job. It's just weird to jam it all in one game. I mean, look, as we talked about, sometimes game developers, especially small studios given like a big budget, they're just like, okay, this is my moment to make the greatest game of all time. So I'm going to put every single idea I've ever had into the same game. And like, it's not actually the right choice artistically, because a big part of art is having tact and judgment and taste. But I also can't really begrudge them. It's like they were clearly having a really good time, and it shows.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned this as one of your memorable moments last time, but just one of the best Hitchhiker's Guide shit parts that I saw was the guy who voted that his friend die, and they're like, we don't want to kill you, we just think you should die. That's so fucking hilarious.
We passed a resolution. We it's an official like censure of you.
And speaking about the tone of this game, this game feels like the game that Cosmic Star Heroine was trying to make, and where this game is, its tone is all over the place and it doesn't quite land, but it takes itself seriously with all of the weird garbage, and it never undercuts itself. So it's not like Ro goes and says like, hey, the world is about to explode. Oh wait, no, never mind. This was a setup for a joke, which is something that Cosmic Star Heroine did a lot.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We may be a little bit critical, but at least it does actually have serious scenarios that play through in addition to having goofy jokes.
Yeah.
Like it definitely is way better than Cosmic Star Heroine in the has humor. Like you're getting whiplash constantly, tonal whiplash, but the game doesn't like actively push you away from engaging with it emotionally.
Like on the level of like the similar vague sphere of this type of things. You have like the Cosmic Star Heroine misses it. This one gets it mostly right with some weird whiplash, and then the Orville I feel is the best version of this, where it's like all of its sci-fi is super important and its drama is super important, but then there's a lot of stupid, weird Hitchhiker's Guide-y like comedy bits on it, but it like comes together in the Orville. Here, they're like two very strong halves of a not so cohesive whole, and then Cosmic Star Heroine sacrificed all of its drama for the lulls. And all three of these things are great, and you should go and enjoy all of them. But did you have any more, Bernard?
Yes, that was technically only one, and then we got sidetracked about talking about the tone. But I have a few more. When you're on Anachronox in the beginning, I don't think y'all mentioned this, but there's a bit of gating. There's an area you can't go to, and there's a guard there, and you talk to him, and he says, "There's someone on fire past this point. This area is sealed off until he puts himself out." And you see a guy running behind him who's on fire and screaming.
That one, okay, that's a weird one. I actually did mention that in our first episode, but then the following week, both Sam and Eli had forgotten I'd mentioned it because they were confused about something about a guy being on fire, and I was like, we already talked about this.
Oh, well.
Maybe I was muted the whole time I was talking about it.
I didn't hear you talk about it.
Maybe I just didn't. Maybe I just thought I did. Maybe I went into a fugue state.
And also on Anachronox, I believe this was on Anachronox, there's a shop that's run by a clone, and like the owner, you can talk to this guy, get all this lore about this shop. Like the owner didn't trust anyone else to run the shop, so now it's this huge chain, but all the shops are run by clones of him. And the guy is like upset about the shop being run by a clone, and he says, "It's like, on the one hand, I think clones should have rights, you know? But on the other hand, I think all clones should die."
Really funny.
Then there was
that's me with, well, I'm not going to say with.
Oh my god.
I was going to say Trotskyist.
Then there's a part of genuinely good writing when you're in the hive. There, in the first area, there's two doors, and one door you can go through, and it's the door you have to go through because the other door is covered with bugs. And I went up and looked at the bugs as boots, and he said, "I bet Grumpos could knock those bugs away with his staff," or something like that. And then I switched to Grumpos and looked at it, and he said something like, "I'm allergic to bug stings. The doctor could probably do something with it." So I switched to Ro and went and looked at it, and she said, "I have a better idea. Let's try the other door."
I was already using Ro, so that's all I got. That's funny.
Yeah, there's this whole scene if you look at it in that order. And my last one is when you first enter the red light district, some Anachronox filmmaking is happening. The camera is zooming all around, showing you this crazy place. And it goes up and zooms on the Cold Sweat Sex Machine sign, and it just zooms in on the word sex. And one, that's already hilarious, but two, the texture is so low res. It's barely, you can barely even parse it as the word sex. It's so fucking funny.
All right, that's the other thing about this game. This game's camera work and filmmaking are completely unaware of how terrible all the textures in the game are. And I really like it. You'll have these like dramatic zoom-ins, and it just looks like shit. And it happens all the time. Reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 1, actually, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Metal Gear Solid 1 is like, we don't care that the characters' faces are extremely pixely blurs, and also that their mouths don't move. They just jerk their faces up and down like it's red versus blue to talk. Like, that's how it is, and we're just gonna shoot it like it's a movie. and you're gonna get used to it.
And you do get used to it.
You do. It's got a consistent aesthetic that you get used to. But yeah, this game is very much the same way. It's just like we're not gonna like try to hide it. We're just this is what it is, and just like we don't care.
It is good.
So a couple that I have is in I forget where. I think it's still on Cinder Station, but you can go to a Vendomart that is selling a huge materia, but it's currently unavailable. And it's them paying homage to the fact that they're making a JRPG because Final Fantasy VII changed video games. That's the whole reason.
That's good.
And they were sure to include the terrible mini games like FF7 had.
Very funny that that's what they referenced in FF7. They're like, "Hey, remember the bad part of that game?"
Yeah. Then, so I'm a sequel to my memorable moment from a couple weeks ago. As you remember, the Meatles are on the on Cinder Station, and they have a super fan. I didn't notice the super fan's name is Phyllis Collin instead of Phil Collins, which I thought was great. But if when you go to talk to her again, she's like, "Oh my God, it's all over. Moko broke them up. It's all Moko's fault." And the Meatles are nowhere to be seen, which is good.
Gotta say, funny joke. Also,
Moko owns actually.
Revisionist bullshit.
But
no, actually, you know what? Hold on. I've reached an even more higher galaxy brain level of existence. So normal brain is like Yoko broke up the Beatles, and that's why we hate her. And then higher level is like Yoko owns. Also, she didn't break up the Beatles. That's sexist. Also, she owns. But now my highest level brain is Yoko did break up the Beatles. Good.
Yes.
Good for her. She was right to do it.
That's why we like her.
And so another one is I don't know if y'all saw this because I don't think either of you have the upgrade mod installed, but the mod fixes the animated like neon signs. So they're currently in the base game, they're static. They used to be animated GIFs. There's a mod that reinstalls it. So if you have that mod in the red light district, the clubfoot sign will change from showing clubfoot to it shows up one word at a time, says bear, bepidry, babes, which I thought was great.
It did work for me, actually.
Oh, okay. Then maybe the mod isn't needed anymore, and there was a update for it. Square Enix still exists. Valkyrie software does not. So all of the bugs in Subterra Core we had to get a mod for. This mod may have been unneeded by now, but the HD textures are nice. So another one is another sign in the red light district. The slogan for the Orange Naval says, "Get things rubbed for $1." And I don't like that, but I like that because I don't like it. And other than those specifics that I called out that I could remember offhand, there is so much good NPC bullshit in the red light district. Like all of basically everyone there has some cute little line going on, and it's real good. But yeah, that's about all the time I've got. I got to get back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on my Nintendo 3DS.
As usual, I've got to go to sleep. Oh, yeah, so my long day tomorrow, by the way, I'm getting up at 9 a.m. to do some political canvassing for an interesting project that's going on. And then after that, I guess I'll be done at like 11 noon. Then I'm going to go to bed. Then, ideally, I'm going to get called to work a double shift at my job because I signed up on the paper for doing double shifts. And last Friday I said, I'm sorry, I can't actually. So this week I'm gonna. And then I'm going to work from 3 p.m. to like 4 a.m. maybe with some breaks in the middle there. That's ideally. I mean, they might not call me if they don't need me to double shift, right? But yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Hell yeah. If
Good
you
luck.
if you liked what you heard tonight, you're weird. This was a scatterbrained episode. But if you like what you hear in general, you can hit us up on the web at www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate on the Ko-Fi to help us keep the lights on and pay for games and unlock our Longcast episodes. We will be kicking off our Longcast of Final Fantasy 13 in like 2-ish, 3-ish weeks, depends on a couple different things. But that'll be starting up real soon.
Just to be clear, if you hate me or love me, you want to know this information. While I'm taking a break from our next normal game, I am part of the cast list for the next long cast.
Yeah. So it'll be.
So do with that information what you want.
And so you can unlock some of those. You also can commission episodes when they're available to get us to play whatever you want. We have a commissioned episode of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom coming up because we have great fans. And
I played that game as a kid and I liked it.
I've heard it's really good. It's just not the thing I was expecting to be attached when I got the notification from Ko-Fi that someone had commissioned a video game. It's hilarious. So I opened up the commissions expecting to get all of the like action RPGs, because there are so many action RPGs that are 6 hours long that we just can't really stretch out to be a whole season. Like everyone loves the Secrets of Manas. They love the Terranigmas. They love all of these things that are the shorter action RPG sort of deals, and everyone has instead used it to make us play something weird. We've played one chapter of a visual novel, we've played a mobile game, and now we're playing a platformer about SpongeBob. So
speaking of the mobile game I made y'all play, Dandy Dungeon, did y'all hear Onion Games announced a new game?
They did.
Yes.
It's called Mon Amour. It's a Flappy Bird clone, it looks like.
Yeah, you should wishlist it on Steam to support Onion Games because I love them.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so Ko-Fi has a lot of cool stuff. That's also where we do the polls, so you can decide what our next game is. We'll be announcing the games in maybe 2-ish weeks. That'll be up for a vote next time. So excited for all of those. Other than that, I think that's all the words that I have to say today. So for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Maddy Grace Weapon.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.